Hello，大家好，我是浩哥，欢迎大家来到我的频道。让我们来看一下视频。
That has gone too deep into Pakistan has ended in disaster. See what happened to the Americans. See what happened to the Soviets. You want to go the same way? No problem. Let me also tell you that all your investments in Balochistan are ash. They're worth nothing because the people of Balochistan have risen against whatever the Pakistani army is doing.
Just a couple of days ago, Professor Victor Gaur was teaching history to an Indian former general, General Bakshi, and an anchor, Arnab Goswami, who is more like a warmonger himself. But after his history lectures, both General Bakshi and General Major Arnab Goswami, they were speechless, and they did not let him to complete his sentence later on. That shows their frustration.
Victor, see, that was General Bakshi's point of view, and I think pretty much he's laid it out there for you. So your turn to respond to that.
Well, thank you very much for having me. First of all, I listened very carefully to what the Excellency the General had to say. Couple of points to start with. China acquired Xinjiang before the time of Jesus Christ. So, read history first, General. And secondly, Tibet became part of China about 800 years ago. Again, read about history. When you talk about invasion of Tibet, it's not done by China. China and Tibet became one country about 800 years ago. That's the basic historical fact you need to study. I know you studied the military, but studying military without historical context will not make you a great military leader. That's the first point. The second point, you talked about China and Pakistan. China-Pakistani friendship and cooperation are established on solid rocks. It will never be shaken by any force in the world. So no country in the world should second guess China-Pakistani solidarity and friendship and brotherhood and sisterhood. And such brotherhood and sisterhood did not just start in May 2025. It started quite a few decades ago. The Pakistani side and the Chinese side jointly produced the military planes, and the Pakistani side has the full benefit of all the military advances that China has made over the decades. So don't pretend to be surprised if China and Pakistan closely cooperate in defending the legitimacy of Pakistan, in defending its sovereignty and territorial integrity. Now, you talked about terrorism. I personally condemn terrorism of all colors and shapes and forms. And we need to deal with the fundamental reasons for terrorism. But whenever there is a terrorist attack, you cannot just jump the gun and jump to the conclusion that accusing a certain other country as sponsoring the terrorist attack. Let's deal with the terrorist attacks as they are and get to the bottom of that by exhausting all investigation and inquiry before you will be justified to take military actions. From the Chinese perspective, taking military action is always a matter of last resort rather than a first resort. And I think it will be completely unjustified for India to jump the gun and to attack another country by claiming that
Victor,
that country is behind whatever terrorist attack that may have happened.
Victor, if I may just tell you one thing. See, a country that has gone too deep into Pakistan has ended in disaster. See what happened to the Americans. See what happened to the Soviets. You want to go the same way? No problem. Let me also tell you that all your investments in Balochistan are ash. They're worth nothing because the people of Balochistan have risen against whatever the Pakistani army is doing. The third point I want to tell you is, why do you want to expose the weakness of your defense systems? Your entire sort of, what you call air defense system, which you told the Pakistanis HQ-9, was useless. We went right into Pakistan. We bombed the living daylights out of them. Our missiles went and hit them. Where was the Chinese system? It was just ineffective. It did not work. Maybe you should send it for repairs. Secondly, you spoke about your planes, your J-10 fighters. They failed. The stock market price of these companies is today down. On the other hand, the scientific and technological prowess of the Indian missiles, the Akashveer the BrahMos has been proven brilliantly. So what you need to acknowledge today is that your false superiority complex about your defense systems, actually they have been exposed. Your whole air defense system, Einar, with a lot of respect to you, Victor, was ineffective. You see, it failed. It failed. And the proof of the fact that your systems failed is the pictures from Bahawalpur, the pictures from...
The first point I want to make. Let China and Pakistan handle China-Pakistani relations.
Good, please do.
Don't second guess China-Pakistani relations. Whatever you want to do with Pakistan or with China, that's your decision. But let China and Pakistan handle China-Pakistan relations.
Yeah, you must handle it. You must handle it. You must also handle Baluchistan. You must handle everything.
Second, I do not want to send shockwaves to your audience in India, but whatever that happened as a result of the aerial confrontation between India and Pakistan is well known to the rest of the world.
Gao, you made a very pertinent point that let China, Pakistan handle their own relations. But when your relations impinge upon our national security, you gave Pakistan the nuclear designs for their first bomb. You tested their first bomb at Lopnor. 82% of weapons and equipment with Pakistan are of Chinese origin. I'm afraid it cannot then remain a China-Pakistan problem. We have to get involved. How would you like, tit for tat, if we gave arms to Taiwan? Please. How would you like if we gave arms, shared weapons with Japan, right? Technology with Japan. You know, we can always behave in a tit-for-tat manner. You would not like it.
Well said, sir. Well said.
You always bared upon the rest of the world. You know, and apropos, my advice is, please don't give weapons to such useless fighters as Pakistan, because they have created a PR disaster for what may otherwise have been fairly okay weapon systems. Right?
General.
Your PL-15 missiles. There are so many. We've got scores of them lying with us now. Talk about your HQ-9 and 16 air defense missile. They have created a disaster. The Pakistanis, because I think they have mishandled. Kindly
they don't know how to use them.
You are creating a PR disaster for your Chinese military industries, for Chengdu Corporation, for Avic Corporation. Their stocks and shares have come down.
Let me have a word.
Yeah.
First of all, I'm so happy the general is not a leader of Indian government. Second point, I'm absolutely convinced that no Indian leader and no Indian government will ever want to interfere in China's domestic affair involving Taiwan. India's government position clearly states that India recognizes there is only one China and Taiwan is part of China, and the PRC government is the sole legitimate representative of the totality of China.
Professor, all the major capitals, all the major newspapers, including Reuters, the New York Times, and some French papers, Le Monde, they were citing and they were praising the way PAF has shot down 6 fighter jets of the Indian Air Force. I'm sure that being a major power, China has also seen this through intelligence and through other means. What exactly is the score? Can you vouch for that we managed to shot down their 6 planes?
Well, I would say the Chinese military is 100% domestic, meaning China produces all kinds of weapons and softwares and hardwares for the army, for the air force, for the navy, for the submarines, as well as for the space force, I would say. And I think China has achieved a very synthetic, highly integrated merging of what I would say the 5 different dimensions, that is space, sky, ground, surface water, and the submarine. Now, in modern warfare, this seamless synthesis of different elements of the war and different dimensions of the war preparedness will be absolutely necessary and crucial. And in times of aerial combat, you need to see further than the other side. And your missile needs to strike at greater distance than the other side. Now, based on my personal understanding of the military planes used by the great heroic Pakistani Air Force, they have achieved what I've called the seamless integration of the different dimensions of war preparedness, meaning you need to gather data from the AWACS, from the satellite, from the planes themselves, as well as the ground station. You need to be prepared way ahead of time. And when the airplanes on the other side took off on the airport, you need to see them ahead of them. And you need to be able to identify the planes on the other side and try to strike at them. Now, one thing very interestingly, the missiles launched by the Pakistani planes supplied by China did not just strike, as we understand, in a straight line. Now, it goes up higher, gaining altitude, and then eventually it falls down, striking the other side without any pre-warning. Now, it all happened in a split of a second, and the missiles are guided by data from multiple sources. That means the Pakistani planes and the missiles, as well as the data center, transmitting, collecting, analyzing data of all kinds, is much more sophisticated than whatever the Indian side has. Now, for India, they do not manufacture most of their weapons, and they tend to import weapons from different suppliers in different countries. Therefore, it will be a hugely impossible mission to integrate them together into a viable, holistic system. Because in a matter of war, a split of a second may determine life or death. And I think the fact that India lost up to about 6 sophisticated planes without their pilots being able to see the Pakistani planes or even to detect the incoming missile is truly remarkable. I think the Indian-Pakistani aerial battle will be marked by history as a turning point in modern aerial confrontation. And I think the way the Chinese way of synthesizing all these data and transmitting all the data, collecting them, analyzing them, and also pushing the missile in a very extraordinary and new way, unconventional way, will be the dominant feature of the aerial warfare going forward. Now, India said they want to build their own planes. I wish them good luck. It probably will take several decades.
大家可以在评论区聊一下。我是浩哥，如果觉得我的视频不错，麻烦帮我点个订阅、点赞、分享。我们下期再见。